Welcome, everybody, to this Wednesday morning meeting for some of us, evening for others. We're going to be looking at a few of the lessons in our series on doing the workbook lessons on Wednesday morning. A lot of focus on grievances, on attack thoughts, on anger, on judgments, how they're all really synonymous. Resentments are grievances. Grievances are a form of anger, and they're all forms of justified judgments. One of the things that wanted to look at, and welcome, Audrey. I just saw you somewhere. There you are. Welcome. One of the things that Bruce was going over Monday night was the emphasis on it's not the judgments. Judgments come, judgments go. The problem with judgments is we milk the death out of them, or the hell out of them. We hang on to them. We rehearse them. I had this image of this piece of trash washing up on the beach, and then the wave comes in and drags it out. And then it washes it up again, and then it drags it out. Well, that's what I'm kind of doing with my judgments in any given moment. I think I let them go. They go back out in the ocean, but then they're washed up again. And then I got to deal with it again, the trash on the beach. So it's just how we justify continuously our judgments that get us caught in that loop. So, and a number of things happen then. We don't see what the real problem is, the original judgment that we made against ourselves. And we don't even know there's a way of admitting that and letting that go, what the real cause of the judgment is. So hopefully we'll cover some of that stuff today. Just to point out, I think, and for me, this is one of the most practical places in the course. Is my sound okay, by the way? Testing 1, 2, 3. All right. Let me know how it goes. So, and this is on page 51 in the manual, paragraph 3. It's question number 20. What is the peace of God? What is the peace of God? Page 51 in the manual, paragraph 3. And this is what Bruce was going over Monday night. If you really want to get into this lesson, check out the replay from Monday night's class. But how is this quiet found? Paragraph 3. How is this peace of mind found? And then he says the answer to that is no one can fail to find that peace of mind who simply seeks out peace of mind's conditions. What are the conditions for peace of mind? It's a fancy word for saying how do I learn how to forgive? That establishes the conditions for peace of mind. It goes on, line 3, God's peace can never come when anger is where anger is, for anger must deny that peace exists. And the way I kind of frame or define anger is like it's taking a judgment and then dragging it out, like I was talking about. Getting caught in that loop where I keep justifying it. And then I get angry about it. And then the anger kind of justifies the judgment. And then the judgment justifies the anger. And it goes on and on and on. And there's no way to get out of that loop until I ask for help. For me, anyway. I ask for Holy Spirit's help to help me step out of that loop and see you the way the Holy Spirit sees you. And see me, myself, the way the Holy Spirit sees me. So once that anger kicks in, the loops, I'm caught in it. I'm the gerbil on the hamster wheel, or the hamster on the hamster wheel. I'm caught, and it just keeps going around and around and around. So, and line 4 says, whoever sees anger is justified in any way. Once again, it's not really the original judgment that's the problem. It's this ongoing anger that reinforces it. My ongoing justification. Who sees anger as justified in any way or any circumstance proclaims that peace is meaningless and must believe that peace cannot exist. How could it exist? I'm caught in this loop. I keep running round and round and round, and the last thing I'm seeming to find here is peace. I blame it on you. I blame it on the world. I blame it on Ukraine. I blame it on whoever. But I'm caught in a trap. Can't get out. This is just too much, baby. So just even admitting that, in this condition, peace cannot be found. Therefore, forgiveness is the necessary condition. And specifically throughout the course, he's talking about the first two steps of forgiveness are the necessary condition for finding peace of mind. The third step of forgiveness, the payoff. If I go through the first two steps of forgiveness, then I get to that peace of mind. And so the question is, okay, what are the first two steps? How do I do that? And we'll get to that. Forgiveness, line 6, is therefore the necessary condition for finding the peace of God. And then line 7, more than this, if we go through those first two steps of forgiveness, there will be peace. And on a good, healthy ego day, that's why we don't do forgiveness. We don't want peace. We think we do, but we're just kind of lying to ourselves whenever we're caught in that judgment, anger cycle. And then paragraph 4, how is this peace of God retained once it is found? Well, it's very unlikely I'm going to stop judging it, but when I get into that peace of mind and I'm actually feeling good, and then suddenly I'm not in it anymore, 10 times out of 10, what's happened is I've had another judgment and I start justifying it again. And I'm justifying it again. And I got a whole courtroom scene going on about it. I'm bringing in witnesses. And then on top of that, I'm going to tell you how right I am about the whole thing. And then on a good ego day, I'll get you to agree with me. So it just, once again, it's what do I want? Peace. When do I want it now? And then am I willing to go through those two steps to actually have that experience? Paragraph 4, line 2, and I'm on page 51 in the manual. Page 51 in the manual. Returning anger in whatever form. This endless repeating of this justification for my being ticked off. Returning anger in whatever form will drop the heavy curtain once again. The nice news about peace of mind when we actually get there and we realize it's there is there's this experience of in the first paragraph, in the first and second paragraph, he talks about it's a very new, fresh feeling, unlike anything we've ever had before. I mean, we all think we know what peace of mind is. Not really. But at least we can admit, I don't think I'm having it right this second. And if I'm not having it right this second, I picked up the sword of justified judgment. I'm angry again. I'm resentful. I have a grievance. And I'm not willing to put it down. And I really need help to just let that go. And then line 3, certainly in terms of Ukraine and everything else we see in the world that's driving us crazy, war is again accepted as the one reality. The war in Ukraine seems very real. Climate change seems very real, or whatever it is that's pushing your buttons. If you're Democrat, the Republicans seem very real. If you're Republican, the Democrats seem very real. We know who the problem is. So, and then we justify it. And then we get ticked off. And then we justify it. And then we get ticked off even more. So we're trying to break that cycle. And certainly looking at the source of where all that's really coming from is what I think lessons 22 and 23 are about. So on a practical level, I think it's really helpful, at least for me, to know that it's not so much all of these judgments I have all day long that are keeping me stuck and not having an experience of peace, but it's really the justification of those judgments that keep me stuck. And am I willing to lay those down for a minute, a second even, and ask for help to see things? See things. This is a course about perception. See things a different way. See you a different way. See me a different way. In spite of what you're doing or not doing. In spite of what I'm doing or not doing. This is not a course about behavior. It's changing the way I see, the way I perceive you, the way I perceive myself. So any questions about any of that so far? Basically, I'm just laying down the groundwork for hopefully where we're going to go this morning, see how much we get through. The other really practical thing is today's lesson for me, lesson 68 towards the end of it. If you're working the lessons chronologically from the beginning of the year, today's lesson 68, and I'm down on paragraph 5, page 115 in the workbook, paragraph 5. And then this is really helpful too. This is what my morning anytime I meditate these days, this is what it looks like. I name names. and I name the good guys and I name the bad guys. And I just, for me, I just let whoever comes up in my awareness, I start with immediate people, my family, my friends, the people coming to class. Then I go to like whoever is pushing my buttons politically on a world level. I cover those guys, and one at a time, just one face at a time, one seeming issue at a time, and that's what he's recommending. I think that he's doing in these two paragraphs, paragraph 5 and paragraph 6 at the end of lesson 68. The end of lesson 68. I'm just trying to, hold on one second. Let me adjust. I think we're good. All right. So paragraph 5 says, begin today's extended practice period by searching your mind for those against whom you hold what you regard as obvious grievances, who you think are an obvious problem. And like it's, I mean, whatever side of the political fence you're on, you can probably throw the other guys in there. They're pretty obviously a problem. And then some of these will be quite easy to find. No kidding. Just watch the news. I can find a half dozen in probably less than 5 minutes or more. Some of these will be quite easy to find. Then think of the seemingly minor grievances you hold against those you like, even think you love. And why? Because then he says it will, quickly even, once you start flip-flopping between the good guys and the bad guys in your meditation, you'll quickly realize there's not anybody that you don't hold some kind of grievance against. Flat out, no ifs, ands, or buts. If I'm in ego mode, I'll have a grievance against the one I love the most, and I'll have a grievance, obviously, against the one I hate the most. Ego is an equal opportunity employer. It will find a grievance against everybody. It's an equal opportunity griever. It will make a grievance. So it will quickly become apparent that there is no one against whom you do not cherish a grievance of some sort. And this has left you alone in all the universe in your perception of yourself. It maintains that perception of myself that I'm really cut off from everybody, even though it doesn't seem sometimes like a big monstrous issue consciously. Any grievance will do. And if I'm in ego mode, I will have a grievance against everybody and everything. It's just the way it is. And I'll get into that reason in a second. However, on a practical level, what he says to do is on page 116 at the top in the workbook, determine now to see all these people, the ones you like, the ones you don't like, the ones you hate, the ones you think you love. Determine now to see all these people one by one as a true friend, whatever that might look like. Another word for innocent, in spite of what they did or didn't do. Determine now to see all these people as friends and say to them all, thinking of each one in turn as you do so. So and that's the way I approach these seeming issues, is I take one person at a time and I ask for help to see you the way Jesus sees you right this second. And then I move to the next one, the next one. And this is what I find really kind of, after I get through about 3,000 people, I'm pretty good. No, actually, it's only about 30, but it takes a while to do that. It takes a while to get through 30 people. And then I'm pretty good with everybody. So, and you say to them, you visualize them, you say to them, I would see you as my friend, not as an issue, not as somebody I have a grievance with. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm willing to do that. I would see you as my friend, that I may remember that you're actually part of me, and then I'll come to know my true self, our true self, that we do have this one true self, and we share that identity. So, I mean, that's the deal. And those two things, what Bruce covered on Monday night, and this here is probably, for me, the two most practical parts of the course. That work for me. I mean, all the course is always saying, look at what you're doing and then ask for help to let it go. So whatever approach you can take that works best for you, do it. But this particular one works best for me, for sure. So let's do that. Let's get quiet for a minute or two. Pick somebody you obviously like, or you don't think you have too many problems with, and then pick somebody you really don't like. You probably thought of them right away, but just pick both of them. And for the next minute or so, tell each one of them, I would see you as my friend, not as somebody I'm holding a grievance against. And I'm asking for Jesus' help to do that. And we'll get quiet and we'll do that for a minute or so. And gently come back. I use, and it still takes a while. I used to half joke. It took me 17 minutes to get through everybody I could think of. And then after 17 minutes, I was pretty good to go for a little while anyway. At least another 17 minutes. Until I went out the door and got crazy again. But it's lasting a little bit longer these days. And you can feel it's almost like, it's like in tomorrow's lesson, he talks about, we're kind of moving through these clouds of grievances, if you will. And every time I move through a grievance with one specific person, I'm kind of free of that cloud and the way it hangs over everybody. And then I do that with the next person. And finally, you break through to the sunshine. Sun was always there. Peace of mind was always there. But it was the grievances that block the sunshine. Block our awareness that peace of mind is a done deal. It's nothing I got to do or make happen. It's there. And these lessons from 68 all the way through 90, ironically enough, are the only place in the whole course Jesus uses the word grievance. He uses lots of other words. He uses anger, resentments. He doesn't call pissed off. They took that out of the course. That wasn't too appropriate. But any of those things work. Ticked off, pissed off, whatever. But I mean, they're all synonymous. But here, 68 through 90, it's the only place in the course he uses the word grievance. So he's willing to attack this problem from whatever frame of mind might best work for us. And in this case, he's using the word grievance. And he uses it 93 times. And then he stops using it after lesson 90. Doesn't use the word grievance ever again. He figured he's done with that word. He beat that one to death. If you don't like that word, he'll find another one. But that's what's happening. Something said connection lost. Can you still hear me okay? Okay. Alrighty. So any questions about any of that stuff, that process so far? Uh-oh, my cat's locked in. I gotta let my cat out. Steven, you want to entertain for
Sure, Tim. Let's see. What I was thinking about yesterday is the tiny spot where sin has left. It occupied my whole day. And what I found was I was looking for the tiny spot where, and I got it from Wapnick. He mentioned it out of the blue. And then instead of the tiny spot where sin has left, what was coming up was all of these ego things, a whole bunch of them. I mean, many, many, many. And every time it would come up, I would think to myself, I see it. I see it. So I almost didn't get to the tiny spot where sin has left, because I was so involved in watching what comes up first and what comes up loudest, and that's ego, and taking responsibility for what I was seeing and making a choice to see it differently. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks. Javier, did that work for you this morning? Kind of, sort of, maybe, not really.
Yeah. I'm still trying to convince the Holy Spirit that I am right.
Oh, that's good. Even acknowledging that I'm trying to do that is a big first step. Yeah, very good. Thanks. Anybody else? Anything? Melissa, go ahead.
Thank you. I just found this comforting today, in light of what's going on, and I highlighted the part in paragraph 4 on 116. I just highlighted, think of yourself as completely at peace with everyone and everything. And this is what really got me. Safe in a world that protects you and loves you, and that you love in return. Try to feel safety surrounding you, hovering over you and holding you up. Try to believe, however briefly, that nothing can harm you in any way. I just really felt comforted when I read that. And that's my 2.5 cents.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, we're looking for a true sense of safety. In the world, there's just not any. You never know when it's going to blow up, on a big scale or a little scale. But I mean, a true sense of safety where no matter what's happening in the world, I feel safe. No matter what's happening in the world, I feel at peace. No matter what's happening in the world, I'm connected so much with Jesus in this moment. I know your reality and my reality is still okay no matter what happens or doesn't happen. That's the experience we're shooting for. That's why in that manual number 20, he talks about it's always a fresh experience when we have that experience. It always feels like I'm born again, like Rebecca was saying the other night. It's a birth every time we have that. It was always there. The safety was always there. The peace of mind was always there, but we were constantly putting up a grievance one at a time to keep that awareness out of our awareness. As insane as that sounds, why would we do something that's stupid? Well, we'll look at that now. We'll go over that a little bit now. So one of the things about I really love about the chart, Ken Wapnick's chart, about the breakdown of metaphysics is he really takes it back. We think the problems in the world our experience in the world, which is what this bottom level is all about. But what we're not aware of on a good ego day, and what we don't want to be aware of on a good ego day, is all of this, all of our reaction to the world. If I'm feeling sad, if I'm feeling angry, all of that isn't coming from the world. It's coming from this inner choice I've made to not feel very peaceful. And then, rather than let that silly choice go to not feel peaceful, I blame it on the world. I make up a whole world and my reaction to it, saying the world's making me feel this way. So in terms of these three levels of experience, this is the only real one. Our true identity in heaven as God's son. That's what when we step outside of heaven, we want to block our experience of that oneness. We want to block our experience of heaven. We want to see what it's like to be separate. It was a dumb thing to do. The good news is we couldn't do it anyway, but we're trying to do it. And we're trying to get ourselves convinced that we did do it. So, and that experience, that internal experience where we try to make up separation and get ourselves to believe it, the Course calls that part of us, the mind, lowercase mind, M-I-N-D. And in that mind, basically, there's two different guides, two different tour guides, if you will, that are leading us through an experience of either separation, and it's not my fault, it's the world's fault, meaning the way I'm feeling, or looking at this idea of separation, tiny mad idea of separation with the Holy Spirit, or that part, internal part of us that is the voice of love, whatever you want to call it, Holy Spirit, Jesus, whatever. And looking at separation as silly. All this is made up. All this is silly. I couldn't leave heaven even if I wanted to. So this is our true identity. This is where we pretend we step outside of heaven. And then this is where I quickly identify with separation, believe I pulled it off, make up a story of sin and guilt and fear around that separation story. And then rather than let it go, I project the responsibility for the way I'm feeling on the world. So lesson 20, way back where, not 20, I'm sorry, lesson 22. We're doing 22 and 23 today. Lesson 22 it says, title, What I See as a Form of Vengeance. This is on page 33 in the workbook, page 33. Ultimately, that's true. Ultimately, we all did collectively make up a world, and we see forms of vengeance, forms of attack coming back at us. But it's really, I mean, what we start for is how I see the world. What's my reaction to the world? And that's a form of vengeance. Eventually, we'll eventually realize that we're making up what we see. But first, we have to realize that how I'm seeing the world and how I'm reacting to it is coming from this inner choice to believe in separation and then not let it go, but project it onto the world, project that responsibility for separation on the world. So I start with how I see the world as a form of vengeance. One of the ways I've done the chart in the past, besides doing it this specific way, content's still the same, but I would do it in terms of attack thoughts. You know, in the world, you know, in my brain, in a brain and a body in the world, there's all kinds of judgments, attack thoughts, grievances, anger going on, conscious stuff going on that I'm thinking, and I'm justifying it. And I watch the news and I justify it. The war in Ukraine looks terrible. I mean, people are, you know, obviously in time and space, they're physically suffering terrible. And then I watch my reaction to it, and I think the reaction is coming from what I'm seeing on the screen. And the simplicity of the Course is lesson 5. I'm never upset for the reason I think. I'm not sad for the reason I think. I'm not angry for the reason I think. I think I'm watching a war, and yeah, of course, it's good to be compassionate for people that are in a lot of pain. But to whatever degree I'm not connected with my own internal peace of mind, that's my responsibility. And the Course constantly points out that when I'm not having an experience of my own peace of mind, no matter what the world is doing, it doesn't mean I treat you any less compassionately. It just simply means if I'm not in touch with you're the Son of God and so am I, then I'm going to see a lot of pain and misery, and I'm not going to realize that I'm internally choosing to see that. So one of the ways to play out this wrong-minded series, the story of sin, guilt, and fear, is in terms of attack thoughts, which is what he's going to talk about in lesson 23. I can escape from the world I see by giving up my own internal attack thoughts. Because what I see in the world, lesson 22, is a form of my own attack thoughts coming back at me. I think they're causing me pain. Nah, nah. Anything could be on that screen, and is, and I'm going to think it's going to cause me pain. I'm going to have a grievance against somebody, even if I think I love you, when I'm in ego mode. When this is going on and I don't know it, it gets projected onto the world. And I think the attack is coming at me from you. Jesus is like, nah, 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 nah. This is what's really going on. You thought you attacked God. You thought you sinned. You wanted to believe you sinned. You wanted to believe you left heaven. And so in order to believe that, you made up this crazy story that you attacked God, you separated from him, now you feel terrible. Of course, calls that guilt. And probably the crowning glory, at least in terms of the story that we're forming, is God agrees with us. He's as crazy as we are. He thinks we attacked him, and he's going to attack us back. We're in trouble. We should be afraid because he's bigger than us, and he's going to come get us. So this whole story is I attack God, and then I feel terrible, and then God's going to attack me back. Those are the attack thoughts that he's talking about in lesson 23. Not all this crazy stuff in the world. The world I see is coming from my own inner attack thoughts. And worse, I just made all this up and then I believed it. That's why the I is in parentheses. I made up an I that could attack God. You can't attack God. Heaven's a done deal. I have to make up this huge pretend story that I'm an I that could actually attack God. And then I got to make up God. That's why God's in quotes. You can't attack God, the real God. You got to make up a God that you think you can attack. That's why all this is so crazy. We make up all this stuff. We make up a God that we can attack. We make up ourselves as an image of something that can actually attack God. And then on top of all that, we believe it. And we justify it. Justify it. Justified. We justify it by all these horrible feelings we're having that are all made up too. I make up the guilt. I make up that terrible feeling. I make up the belief that now God, in quotes, is going to attack me back. And so I make up fear. We went to a lot of trouble to get ourselves to believe this. And then rather than let all that silliness go, we went to a lot of trouble to make up a whole world of time and space with Ukraines and Putins and Trumps and Republicans and Democrats to believe that the way we're feeling is coming from something in the world, not from this. Javier?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I have a question.
Uh-oh.
Is with the chart. I understand the projection when I am in ego mode from my sin, my guilt, and my fear. I'm not there yet, but I understand the concept. So lesson 5, I am never upset for the reason I think. I get that. But what happened when I am in Holy Spirit mode? Where is that projection? Could I change? I am happy for the reason I think. I am in love for the reason I think. I mean, an affirmative, because when I am in ego mode, it's easy to recognize the world. My projection is easy. But what happened with the projection from the Holy Spirit mode? It's not mentioned in the world, so that's, I don't know where to put that.
Right.
Makes sense?
So let's see how to approach that. So we're trying to get to an experience where the Course calls it extension. When we see the world the way the Holy Spirit sees the world, he stops calling it projection. It's semantics. It doesn't matter. Call it what you want. But the way the Holy Spirit sees the world is where we're trying to get to that place. So, so there is this experience of right-mindedness, the way the Holy Spirit sees the world. And it's a process, and it seems linear. It's not really, but it feels like it, because we start with where we think we are in time and space. So we start with, what if I'm not upset for the reason I think? What if I let go of believing it's the world that's causing me to feel a certain way? Am I willing to let go of believing that with the Holy Spirit's help? So I start with the negative first. The first negative I start with is, world's doing terrible things. Well, it is. We made the world to do terrible things, and it's doing a good job. And we made the world to blame it on. So from that point of view, it's doing a good job. But from the Holy Spirit's point of view, once again, it's all made up. So he helps me first to see I'm not upset because of what you did. That's the big first. And am I willing to do that? Am I willing to let go of believing that you're the source of my pain? That it's your sin, your guilt, your fear that are causing me pain. Not mine, not my sin, not my guilt, not my fear. Not all these crazy attack thoughts I'm having. I think it's your attack thoughts that are causing me pain. Or somebody else's. Could be coronavirus, could be anything. Anything I think that is attacking me. So I start with that. I don't deny it. I feel that way, but what if it's not true? Am I willing to let go of believing it? You're the source of my pain. Something external is the source of my pain. And then the next step is, I get back to here, and this is really bad. This is dark night of the soul. I begin to realize the only thing all this stuff in the world has in common that I'm reacting to is me. And it's coming from here. It's not coming from the world. I mean, you look at things that bothered you 20 years ago that don't bother you now. You're like, well, that was dumb. Why was I bothered by that? Because it had nothing to do with the world. Which is a pretty good sign that whatever we think is bothering us in the world right this second has nothing to do with it. It changes every day. What we think is bothering us changes. There's some consistent problems, but most of them change all the time. And the only thing they all have in common is this. It's me projecting on all that poor stuff in the world. The world was set up to do that. So I didn't realize it was my sin, my guilt, and my fear that were really the source of the way I was feeling. So am I willing to let go of believing then? Here I was willing to let go of believing it was your sin, your guilt, your fear. Here am I willing to let go of believing I did it? And then what's left is the brand new way I'll see the world, the brand new way I'll see you, the brand new way I'll see myself. The way the Holy Spirit sees the world is always there, but we don't have to make that happen. We just have to stop doing this, believing you're a problem, and let go of believing this, believing I'm a problem. Not I as Tim in the world, but this central matrix issue inside of each of us. I left heaven. I'm not the son of God anymore. I attack God. I attack my relationship with God. I'm often running on my own. I'm not God's son anymore. Those are all the attack thoughts he's talking about in lesson 23. So the way to get to that experience of the way the Holy Spirit sees the world is I have to stop insisting I'm right. Here I'm insisting in the first step of forgiveness in the world, I'm saying you're the problem and I'm right about that. When I get back to Dark Night of the Soul, I'm insisting I'm the problem. I left heaven. And that's when I really need help and to have a real live actual experience that Jesus didn't go anywhere. He's still loving, not Tim as a body in the world, but whatever Tim is as the Son of God, he still loves that. And then that whole way that the Holy Spirit sees the world, projects on the world, if you want, or extends his perception to the world, that'll just automatically happen. I don't know if that helps or not, but that's what he's trying to talk about in lesson 23, the 3 steps of forgiveness, specifically in paragraph 5. And hopefully we'll get to that. So you got any questions on any of what I said so far, Javier?
No.
Okay. I guess that's good. Alrighty. Anybody else? Vicky?
I was just going to tell Javier and anybody else, I wondered too, how does the Holy Spirit change my perception? And lo and behold, in chapter 14 on page 287, there's a chapter 7 called Sharing Perceptions with the Holy Spirit. And I've just been over the last 3 or 4 weeks, that's what I read every day. And try and understand how he does it.
Right, that's good. And tell us what page that is for the recording. Oh, you're on mute.
Can you read my lips? Page 287. I got real close here.
Okay, 287. All right,
In the
thanks.
text.
Very good, thanks. Yeah. Alrighty. Let's look at let's back up to lesson 21. I like to see how all these lessons lead into each other. So lesson 21, paragraph 2. Then I'm on page 32 in the workbook. So he's gonna, it's a nice title. I'm determined to see things differently. And what's more than inferred is I'm determined to see things differently than the way I've been seeing them. And the way I've been seeing them is lesson 22. What I see is a form of vengeance. What I see is people attacking each other all the time. And even more specific to poor little old Tim, the way people attacked him. So, but I'm determined to see you differently. I'm determined to see me differently with the help of the Holy Spirit, meaning all these victims and victimizers that I'm seeing, I'm willing to see all this differently. So paragraph 2. Lesson 21, paragraph 2. In the practice periods, begin by repeating the idea to yourself. Then, close your eyes and search your mind carefully for situations, past, present, or even anticipated, that arouse anger in you, that bring up a grievance in you, that you know you're going to resent, that you know you're not going to like. Any of those words will work. The anger, the resentment, the grievance, line 3, the anger may take the form of any reaction ranging from mild irritation to rage. Anything that's slightly annoying you is grist for the mill. is a great classroom, is a great place to start. The degree of the emotion you experience does not matter. Well, we could argue with that. And we will as good, healthy egos. In fact, we'll argue with all this stuff as good, healthy egos. The degree of the emotion you experience does not matter. You will become increasingly aware that even a slight twinge of annoyance is nothing but a veil, a cloud drawn over intense fury. It's just cloud on cloud on cloud. Here, this is pretty intense. This dark night of the soul stuff is really intense. Believing that we attack God is a hell of a thought. Feeling all that guilt, believing we did it, is terrible. Think of the worst things on the planet multiplying by 1 billion, and we don't even come close to how bad that feeling is. But we justified it. God wouldn't let us be on our own, and so he deserved to die. He deserved to be attacked. I just want to be a separate son of God. I'm the rebellious teenager. I want to be off on my own, doing my own thing. I want to do it my own way, my own self. And there was a lot of justification in doing that in the first place. I attacked God because he deserved it. In the world, we attack people all the time. We judge them all the time. But it seems like they deserve it. But that's, once again, it's not about the world. It's all coming from here. I attacked God because I thought he deserved it. He wouldn't let me go off and running on my own. Or whatever justification we use. All this is justified as much as all this crazy stuff down here in the world is justified too. But this is coming from this. This is where the justification started. All the feelings, all the resentments, all the anger, all the frustration. A slight twinge of annoyance is nothing but a veil over intense fury. Whenever I'm identifying with my ego, that's just not an intellectual concept. That's raging, intense fury underneath all this other stuff where we're trying to like not look so crazy. It takes a lot to go through a day as a body and not look as crazy as we are. We're all trying to fool each other. And, we're fairly good at it for a while until it stops working. Paragraph 3. Try, therefore, just try it. Give it a shot. Try, therefore, not to let the little thoughts of anger escape you in the practice periods. Don't deny a grievance that you have. Don't justify it, but don't deny it. Let it come to the surface. Let yourself, come be aware of how, no matter how much you love this person, there's something that you're holding against them. They did something wrong. Somewhere, somehow. Lisa Roberts.
Hey, hi, Tim. In Journey Through the workbook, Ken notes that in chapter 6, in the introduction, line 2, anger always involves projection of separation, which must ultimately be accepted as one's own responsibility rather than being blamed on others. Anger cannot occur unless you believe you have been attacked, that your attack is justified in return, and that you are in no way responsible for it. And I remember Ken saying that we have to accept responsibility for the disquiet that we feel. And that's exactly what that anger is. It's that disquiet in our mind that leads to projection. Just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Yeah, and in those first few paragraphs that you read at the beginning of chapter 6 is the first real place that Jesus talks about anger, and specifically that loop, that hamster wheel we get caught on, where it just keeps going and going and going, and we really need help to step outside that loop to get off that wheel. Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Yeah. Alrighty. Line 2, paragraph 3, line 2, back in lesson 21. Remember that you don't really recognize what arouses anger in you. Because if you did, we wouldn't be so ticked off and holding a grievance against people and things in the world. If we really knew the anger was started here against ourselves as the Son of God, if we really realize that, we might still be upset, and we will be until we ask for help. But as long as I think I can't keep this going and realize where the real anger is coming from, I have to keep convincing myself I'm angry for the reason I think. I'm always angry for the reason I think, the opposite of 5. Abe, go ahead.
I've done this exercise a few times, and it's always struck me at the beginning. I thought that, the little thoughts of anger would be like a drip, drip, drip thing. But what I come to realize is it's more like a fire hose at full blast. It's just coming. It just comes. So it's almost everything is little an annoyance thought of some kind or another.
Right. That's why it takes 4 firemen to hold that hose. One poor little guy can't do it. It's like it's spraying on everything and everybody. Yeah, that's a good image. Thanks, Abe. Yeah. Alrighty. And then the end of line 2, and nothing that you believe in this connection, meaning I know why I'm upset, I know why I'm angry, nothing of that means anything. It's all made up to keep us distracted from what the real issue is. You will probably, oh, he's being nice here. You will probably still be a jerk, right? No, you probably do more than that. Until you ask for help, you will stay stuck in this hamster wheel. You will probably be tempted to dwell more on some situations or persons than on others. On the fallacious grounds, they are more obvious. This is just not so. Because this just ain't the problem in the world. Whatever it is in the world I'm ticked off about. It is merely an example of the belief that some forms of attack are more justified than others. A hierarchy of illusions. A hierarchy of anger. A hierarchy of fear. You know, it looks like we're more afraid of, I mean, the pandemic was bad until nuclear war came along, and now it's like people can't stop talking about the nuclear war. But, you know, I mean, there seems to be a hierarchy of fear. And Jesus is going, nah, nah. Yeah, it's okay you feel that way. Just don't justify it. Ask me for help to help you. Let me, Jesus, see you, everybody, and everything a different way. If we're still the Son of God, the pandemic doesn't matter. If we're still the Son of God and we're okay, nuclear war doesn't matter. I mean, it seems like a hierarchy of fears, but it's not. It seems like a hierarchy of anger. It's just not. We don't have to go around saying, I don't believe in nuclear war. I don't believe in nuclear war. All we have to do is go through these 3 steps of forgiveness. On a very practical level, I start with my grievance against you. That'll eventually take me to, I don't have to be afraid of nuclear war. I don't have to be afraid of a pandemic. I don't have to be afraid I'm going to die now or later. All that stuff, all that fear, all that anger will dissolve once I start working on these very practical solutions of I start with my grievance with you, with anybody, and I start dealing with those grievances one at a time. That's the doorway back. That's what makes this course so easy. It just starts with what's happening with us right this second. They're the doorway back. We don't have to take a quantum leap into all the world. I mean, the world was made as an attack on God, but we don't even have to believe that. I just start with what I think you're attacking me about. What grievance do I have about what you did to poor little old me? That's what I start with. That'll open the door to all this grandiose stuff that we will feel, that we will experience eventually, but we start with where we're at. We'll eventually see how the Holy Spirit sees the world, what he's projecting on the world, what he's extending to the world. But we don't have to jump right into that. In fact, we can't, most of us. We have to start with one grievance at a time, one resentment at a time. Lesson 22. Paragraph 1. So what I see is a form of vengeance. And like I said, I had to cross out what and put in how. How I see things is a form of vengeance. It's a form of my own anger against God and my own one true self. It's coming back at me. How I see everything in the world, whether it's Ukraine or political parties or coronavirus or my own body and it breaking down over the years. How I see that is a form of vengeance. It's my own anger coming back at me. So I can blame it on something external, even my own body, but not go back to this and take responsibility for that. So today's idea, what I see as a form of vengeance, describes the way anyone who holds internal attack thoughts of sin, guilt, and fear Anyone who holds attack thoughts in his mind, in this inner experience here in the wrong mind, that's how we must see the world. The world becomes a projection of this. That's how simple this is. Line 2, having projected his own anger onto the world, anger at God. Anger at God because he wouldn't let me be me as a separate self. Anger at God because, or anger at myself because I didn't want to be one son of God anymore. I want to be a separate self. Or angry at God now because he's going to punish me for what I did, even though I had every right in the world seemingly to do it. However, that kind of experience expresses itself in your awareness. Those are the attack thoughts. So having projected my own anger against God, against myself onto the world, now I see vengeance about to strike me everywhere. Everything in the world becomes a form of vengeance, ready to get me. I don't want to admit that. That's a little overwhelming, but I mean, that's what's really going on. Like, just count how many judgments you have in 10 minutes, much less in an hour, or God forbid, a whole day. It's a mess of them. When I'm in ego mode, that's what I'm doing. I'm constantly judging everybody and everything. I don't want to admit that. I don't want to call it that. But I'm formulating a grievance and justifying it all the time against everything. My tea is not quite sweet enough this morning. It's good. It's keeping me awake. But if I'm drinking my tea with the ego, there's going to be a little about it. Not quite right. And it's not my fault. It's the way Lynn fixed it or something. It wasn't my fault. But I mean, that's the kind of silly stuff we do all the time. And it's silly because it's silly. Because we're hell-bent on finding grievances all the time. So I don't realize that the big grievance I'm hanging on to here is the real grievance, and that's all made up too. A grievance against God himself. A grievance against my own true self as the Son of God. So, having projected his anger onto the world, he sees vengeance about to strike at him everywhere. 3, his own attack is thus perceived as self-defense. That's what Lisa was talking about. I know you're attacking me, or you're going to attack me, and I'm going to do a preemptive strike. The old George Bush thing on the aircraft carrier. We come flying in our parachute. I'm going to do a preemptive strike. His own attack is thus perceived as self-defense. This becomes an increasingly vicious circle, wheel, until he's willing to change how he sees, choose a different teacher. Otherwise, thoughts of attack and counterattack will preoccupy him and people his entire world. What peace of mind could possibly be available to us when we're caught on that hamster wheel? It was set up not to have peace of mind. We jumped on it willingly, but now we need help getting off of it. Because it's going so fast. We need it. I mean, obviously you're on a merry-go-round, it's going like crazy. If you jump off yourself, you could get really hurt. You got to kind of slow it down a little bit and hopefully have somebody catch you when you go flying off. Well, that's the Holy Spirit's job. It is from this savage fantasy, paragraph 2, this savage hamster wheel we've put ourselves on, that we want to actually escape, step down off the wheel. Is it not joyous news to hear that it's not real? The wheel's made up. The me getting on the wheel is made up. The God I made up that's punishing me is made up. I mean, all this stuff is crazy and it's made up. Is it not a happy discovery to find that you can actually get off the wheel? You made what you would destroy. To prove that, that I'm actually, I mean, there's no destruction in heaven. As soon as I think I can destroy my own identity as a son of God, and then worse, I can make up a world that eventually has a shelf life to it, everything in the world's going to fall apart and die, including me as a body. We made up what we would destroy, we would have die. It proves we're not the son of God. There's no death in heaven. There's no destruction in heaven. The son of God can't die. But if I make up something that I think can die, and I make up stuff I think I can destroy, well, obviously that's not heaven. You made what you would destroy, everything that you hate and would attack and kill. I can do what God can't do. I can hate, I can attack, I can kill. All that you fear just does not exist. Everything that I hate and attack would kill, including myself, it's all made up. It doesn't exist. That's really good news. Once we realize it's true. Anything on that? Yeah, go ahead, Gene. I could feel you coming up with something, Gene.
Well, I was just thinking how back in paragraph 1, this becomes an increasingly vicious circle until he is willing to change how he sees. I mean, we have to become so exhausted by the viciousness, because as you were reading, this is joyous news. I thought to myself, I can't go there if I'm in viciousness. I don't even have a clue to do that. But that viciousness, if I can, in the immediacy of my protection of the I, if I can just ask for the forgiveness. And this really is, I mean, it is practice, because it's practice in at least perceiving that I can be joyous. Not that I am, okay, because I'm not.
Yeah, it reminds me of when Bill Thetford went to Helen Schuckman and said, I don't think he used the word vicious, but that was the gist of it. What we're doing to each other in this psychology department is horribly vicious. And it doesn't seem like we can get out of it. We're stuck. There's got to be a better way of doing this. That's all we all say, is when we realize how vicious this cycle is. 35, 40, 45, 50 years, sometimes lifetimes or more of doing it this way. It's just been pretty vicious for a long time. If there's a way off the wheel, do I want to do it? Would I be willing to try it at least anyway? Yeah. Thanks, Gene. Kathy, did you have your hand? Were you waving, Kath?
I did have my hand up. Yes, thank you. So the thing that in paragraph 1, and basically lines 2, 3, and 4, but the thing that occurred to me is that with family members, can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So they, have known me my entire life. And so they are used to me being a certain way. And in trying to communicate with them now and trying to practice some of the things that I'm learning in the course. And what have been finding is that it seems like some family members are basically sensing that there's a vengeance in me and that I'm about ready to strike them because their response is so defensive. And I have to stop and say, well, wait, that's not what I meant at all. So I'm trying to explain myself. So it just kind of goes back to that vicious cycle. So I'm not trying to argue, but just trying to make my statement, but not in an attacking way, but it's being perceived as an attack. And that's probably based on the past, the history. So I kind of appreciate that because I've been in that mode myself a lot of expecting to get attacked and then defending myself. So it's kind of a slap in the face to have it right here.
Yeah, I was thinking how that's almost like a loop. I mean, there's different kinds of loops that we get ourselves into, and that feels like one too. I mean, that's still a hamster wheel in and of its own. So, you know, I start to change. My family gets threatened by that. They see it probably as an attack, whether I'm meaning it that way or not. And then I react to it like I react to anything as if that's a problem, or if that is the problem, meaning their reaction to me seems to be the problem now. And then I'm back on the wheel, believing there's something external that can actually rob me of my peace. In this case, it's them. I'm finally doing something good for myself, and you think it's an attack on you. Oh, great. How do I explain that? Well, the good news is we don't have to explain any of this to anybody. We just have to do it ourselves. And then, you know, if there's times where it feels appropriately, maybe insightfully right to explain, that's fine. Probably most of the time not. Because if people are in ego mode, they're going to see it as an attack no matter what we do, which is what we did to everybody else, whether they were being nice or not, genuinely nice. So it's how I see things that I always have to bring it back to. Meaning the prayer then becomes, help me see this family member the way you do, Jesus, because I think now they're attacking me again. They're attacking me because I'm finally straightening my act out. Yeah, it sounds subtle until you say it out loud. It's like, oh yeah, I'm back. I'm back defending myself. Well, who am I defending? Little old me, Kathy. Little old me, Tim. I mean, why am I doing that? If you're the Son of God and I'm the Son of God, I don't have to defend anything. And if I'm aware of that, I mean, that'll just come through no matter what I say, or no matter what I do. So it always comes back to me and how I'm seeing it. You know, and just that proclivity, that urge to make it about them. And now I have to react to the way they're seeing me, and the need to do that. I have to react. They're being unfair again. My whole family's been unfair to me all my life, and they're still being unfair to me.
Thank you. That was another slap in the face.
Yeah, right. Jesus did it. I didn't do it. He does that to me all the time. So there. No. But the good news is when I do focus on me and how I'm seeing them, then all that I thought was another issue melts away too. It won't be a big deal anymore. Yeah. Thanks, Kath. That's a good point. That's a whole another form of, yeah. Oh, poor me. and be able to smile at that. Yeah, right. Thanks, Kath. All right. Vicky.
Well, in the course, and I think with Kenneth Wapnick, it's mentioned quite a bit that we do not want our thought systems attacked or changed. You know, we've spent so much time building up our defenses that of course we're going to like attack right away if somebody tries to change my mind about me or them. Doesn't matter.
There's a really interesting part of the course in the later chapters where he says we made a secret vow with our families to do that to each other. It gets really dark because it is dark. I mean, why would I make a vow with you to attack me? You attack me, I'll attack you, and then we'll be okay. Really? I actually believe that. Yeah. Right. These secret vows we make, secret because it's to say them out loud we didn't realize how stupid they are. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Vic. Jean, were you waving, Jean?
I was just thinking in reflection, I can remember all the things my family would say to me. And I obviously wanted that. You know, it's just, I mean, and it's funny, currently, I don't even have it in my mind. And so it actually, the course doesn't even come up. It's weird, but the things they used to say, oh my gosh. So thank you, Kathy. Wow.
From an ego point of view, that's what families are for. and they do it very well. They're good at it. You're right. That's good. Audrey, how are you doing? You got any thoughts or comments or questions or anything?
I'm just drinking it in. I feel like it's wonderful. I'm so glad to have found you all.
Yeah, very good. Thanks. Don't drink too much. Just cut yourself off when it's time.
I'm binging.
Got it. Alrighty. Very good. All right. Welcome, Chris. Where you been?
Well, I was supposed to be teaching a class, and some other sub was in there. So, I can get online here. So just go on for another hour, will you? I love this stuff.
Okay, just for you.
I won't even tell you my poor family story. It's just pathetic.
Oh, good thing we're smiling.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Let's look at lesson 23 a little bit. Let's see, paragraph 1. So I can escape from the world I see by giving up my own attack thoughts against God and against my true self. That's what the real attack thoughts are. Sin, guilt, and fear internally. This idea for today contains the only way out of fear. I have to get back to what the real problem is. That isn't a problem after all. So the real problem is this, and this problem doesn't exist. Jesus didn't go anywhere. He still loves me. I let that experience in, and all this will not only melt away, but my reaction to the world will melt away also. That's what peace of mind is all about. I let Jesus love me. That's why we feel peace of mind. Because when I was doing all this, I was attacking him. I wasn't going to let him love me. He's part of God. I'm not going to let that in. I'm not admitting I'm doing all that crazy stuff. Now I got to blame it on the world and what the world's doing to me. And it's just, that's why it's such a hamster wheel. I never see what the real problem is. Line 2, nothing else will work. Everything else is meaningless. The whole world is meaningless in terms of simply being a distraction from what the real problem is. That's not a problem either. But this way, these steps of forgiveness, taking us back to this and realizing Jesus didn't go anywhere, this cannot fail. That's why we don't do it. We know it can't fail. It's not like, I forgot. Can't even remember the lessons title this morning. I could have had a V8. No, we don't accidentally forget to do this stuff. We don't want to do it. There's a part of us that's terrified to let Jesus in. When we do, and he loves us, and it feels pretty good, and then I don't have to go around blaming the world for what I think I did, I mean, that feels really good. And there's a lot of motivation then to keep doing this process. A lot of motivation. But this way cannot fail. Every thought you have makes up some segment of the world you see. If it's an ego thought, my reaction to the world I see will be ego-based. It'll have sin, guilt, and fear written all over it. Every thought I have with the Holy Spirit, I'll see the world through those eyes. I'll have that projection of peace and kindness on the world in spite of what the world's doing. It is with your thoughts then that we must work. It's with this, not the thoughts in my brain, the thoughts internally where I'm attacking God and attacking my true self. It is with these thoughts then that we must work if your perception of the world is to be changed. If how I see the world is to be changed, not as forms of vengeance. But we'll see the world in a whole different light, whether the world's at war with itself or not, seemingly in time and space. Paragraph 2, what if this is true? If the cause of the world you see are your own attack thoughts, if that's even true, would you be willing to go there? You must then learn that it is these thoughts which you don't want. Not all the brain thoughts, brain farts, if you will, that we're having about the world and what the world's doing, but these are the thoughts I need to deal with. Jesus doesn't love me anymore. Jesus isn't here. There's a lesson where Jesus is kind of jokingly talking about when we begin to become aware that he's here, he didn't go anywhere, and he says, you feel my hand on your shoulder. And then you're like, oh no, Mr. Bill, please go away, Mr. Jesus. You get a little nervous. Jesus' hand's on my shoulder. Oh God, I'm going to hell now for sure. Whatever kind of thoughts that might be. Line 2, there's no point in lamenting the world. Paragraph 2, line 3, there's no point in even trying to change the world. I mean, we're all crusader rabbits. We're always trying to change the world, make it a better place for me and you to live in. At least we think we are. I was just thinking something political, but I won't go there. There's no point in trying to change the world and all the politics I see in the world. It is incapable of change because it's merely an effect. It's an effect of this. The world I see is and my reaction to the world is simply an effect of what I'm doing to myself internally. It is incapable of change because it's merely an effect. Line 5. But there is indeed a point in changing your thoughts about the world. I will feel better then. I can feel better then. Here in the mind, here in this place where we made all this up, here you are changing the cause. You're realizing the cause is simply made up. I didn't attack God. I don't have to feel terrible. God's not going to attack me back. He still loves me. God is not holding a grievance against me. The whole Bible is about all these grievances God had against us. I mean, it's a book of grievances. I mean, look at what he did to Moses and the 12 tribes of Israel. Look what he did to the poor Egyptians. Look what he did to his own son, hanging him on the cross. I mean, I mean, there's good Catholics. If you're doing the Catholicism with or Christianity with the Holy Spirit, I would imagine it's a whole different deal. Probably like Mother Teresa had that experience. But if we're doing any religion with ego, including the Course, the egos are going to have a field day with religion. It's going to make it all about vengeance. It's going to make it all about the other guy. It's going to make it all about, look what my family member just did to me. It has to. The effect will change, line 7, automatically when we change this, when we change the cause. Effects change automatically. I won't react to the world the way I'm reacting to it now. I won't have to react to the world the way I'm reacting to it now. Right now, from an ego point of view, paragraph 3, the world we see seems to be a vengeful world, and everything in it is a symbol of vengeance. Something waiting to just grab me in the butt. Each of your perceptions of external reality is a pictorial representation of your own inner attack thoughts. One can well ask if this be called seeing. More like insanity. Does he say that here? Well, he says we're seeing hallucinations. All this, to believe that all this is true and we're upset for the reason we think is just total insanity. It's all made up. One can well ask if this be called seeing. Is not a fantasy, is not insanity a better word for such a process, and hallucination a more appropriate term for the result? You, paragraph 4, we see the world that we have made, but we do not see ourselves as the image maker. When when we're in ego mode, when this internal choice to attack is going on. You cannot be saved from the world, but you can escape from its cause. This is what salvation means. For where is the world you see when its cause is gone? At least the world the way we see it. Jesus talks about the real world throughout the course. All the real world is looking at the world and realizing it's not real. I don't know why he called it real world. But that's all real world means. When we see the world through the Holy Spirit's eyes, we realize it's not a big deal. You're still the Son of God and so am I. So there's no reason to be upset. And we're not thinking ourselves into that. We actually have an experience of that. This is what salvation means. For where is the world you see when its cause is gone? Vision already holds a replacement for everything you think you see now. Peace of mind's already a done deal. We're the ones that are blocking vision. We're the ones that are blocking seeing a real world. If we're not having an experience of peace right now, it's simply because I'm hanging on to a grievance somewhere against the world and believing that's why I can't have peace. Paragraph 4, line 5, loveliness can light your images and so transform them that you will love them even though they were made of hate. For then you will not be making these images alone. Meaning I'll be seeing them through the eyes of the Holy Spirit. And then paragraph 5, very, very succinctly and quickly, don't blink, talks about the 3 steps of forgiveness. The idea for today introduces the thought that you're just not trapped in this world you think you're in, because its cause can be changed. This change requires, number 1, first step of forgiveness, that the real cause be identified. Meaning, am I willing to see maybe I'm not upset because of what's going on in the world? Maybe something internal is going on. What if you're not the problem? What if I could see you differently, not as the problem? What if it's just me being me, a separate me? That's the problem. If that's true. First, that the cause be identified, the real cause of my pain. It's not you, it's not the world. What if that's true? And then, let that cause go. Let go of believing that I attack God. Let go of believing God's attacking me back. Let go of all the guilt I made up about that story. Let Jesus love me in this moment. Not me as a Tim, but me as the Son of God. Loveliness can light all these images. If you know you're loved, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, you'll see it. You'll see it everywhere in spite of what's going on in the world. First, let the cause be identified, and then let that cause go, step 2, so that it can be replaced by the Holy Spirit. I'll realize and have an experience of the true me, the true us. Then, interesting comment, line 3, the first 2 steps in this process, of forgiveness. I let go of believing you're the problem. I let go of believing I could be a problem. Requires my cooperation. Meaning, I simply, not a lot of cooperation here. I just need to ask for help from Jesus or the Holy Spirit or whatever voice of love we have an image of inside of us. The first 2 steps in this process require me asking for help. That's the cooperation. To step off the hamster wheel. The final one does not. Peace of mind's a done deal. I hold my hands up and I can't see you, and I can't see the true me. I put my hands down. Reality is a done deal at that point. All the grievances I'm holding against you and all the grievances I'm holding internally against myself, once I take my hands down, once I let go of those grievances, it's already been replaced. The sun didn't go anywhere. I just put up all these clouds of grievances. The final one does not. Your images have already been replaced. It's the done deal course. We don't have to do anything except stop insisting we're not the Son of God. By taking the first 2 steps, you will see that this is so. The 3 steps of forgiveness in a serious nutshell. There's other places it describes it, but that's one of the most succinct, the most profound, I think. Anything before we close? I want to look at tomorrow's lesson, which carries on this idea of acknowledging the grievances we're hanging on to and realizing that's what's messing up the process. Lesson 69, which I can't find. Come back, 69. Yeah, so lesson 69 on page 117. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. My grievances, each one hides that I am the Son of God and you are too. That's all grievances are for. They're not real, they're just made up. But as long as I hang on to them and reinforce them, they keep hiding the light of the world. And then he gets into this whole meditation towards the end that all those grievances, they are the clouds. It's not that the world is a cloud, it is. But it's all the grievances that I have about the world that keep me believing the world is real. The grievances are the clouds. That's what he's talking about here. So no one, paragraph 1, no one can look upon what your grievances conceal. No one, I can't see what my grievances are concealing. I set them up to conceal it. I set my grievances up so I don't see you're the Son of God in reality, and I am too. No one can look upon what my grievances conceal, because my grievances are hiding the light of the world in me, much less everybody else. Everyone stands in darkness, and we stand beside them in that darkness. We're insisting we're not the Son of God. We can't hold a grievance if we know we're the Son of God. And once again, not to go around saying, I'm not going to hold any grievances. It's just to ask for help when we do realize and recognize we're holding a grievance. Part of it is just realizing how many we're holding on to and how icky we feel when we do it. But line 3, the good news, as the veil of your grievances. Here he's calling it a veil. Later on, he'll call it cloud. But as the cloud of your grievances is lifted, you are released with your brother. Share your salvation now with him who stood beside you when you were in hell. If I think I'm in hell and I think that my grievances are legitimate and they're justified, and I'm blaming the whole world for the way I'm feeling, I'm the one that's condemning the world. The way I share my salvation with you is I ask for the Holy Spirit's help to do that. Because I was the one that was condemning the world. It doesn't matter what the world's doing to itself. That's all made up too. But I'm the one with the problem. I'm the one that's condemning the world. I'm the one holding on to a grievance. I'm the one that's pointing the finger at somebody else and saying, you're affecting me. I need to look at that and let that go with help. Share my salvation now. I let go of believing this crazy stuff. Line 5, then he is your brother in the light, not somebody I'm condemning. He is your brother in the light of the world that saves you both. Today, now, the only time we can do all this stuff is right now. Today, let us make another real attempt to reach that light that's inside of us by laying down these grievances one at a time. Before we undertake this in our more extended practice period, devoted several minutes to thinking about what we're trying to do. We are literally attempting to get in touch with the salvation of the world that's in us, that light of the world that's in me. Line 4, we are trying to see past this veil of darkness, past this veil of all of these grievances that keeps the real light of the world in me concealed. We are trying to let this veil of grievances be lifted and to see the tears of God's Son disappear in the sunlight. How beautifully Shakespeare is that? Let the tears of God's Son disappear in the sunlight. And then as a closing meditation, I'm going to start reading, let's see. Start reading, I think, where he in paragraph 6, line 2, talking about these clouds of grievances, where he starts determined now to go past the clouds, and then read 7 and 8. Jerry, you feel like being our closer? Oh, you're still, there you go.
Okay, here we go.
We can't hear you. You got to do that little thing with your mic.
Okay, how's that?
Oh yeah, I don't know what you do, but it's a miracle.
magic.
It's a miracle, Jerry. No,
It is.
in your case,
It
it's a
is.
miracle. So yeah, begin on paragraph 6, line 2, and then read 7 and 8, and I'll be quiet.
Okay. Determined to go past the clouds. Decide in advance when would be a good time to lay aside for each of them, and then adhering to your own decision as closely as possible. Begin these practice periods by repeating the idea for today, adding a statement signifying your recognition that salvation comes from nothing outside of you. You might put it this way: my salvation comes from me. It cannot come from anywhere else. Then devote a few minutes with your eyes closed to reviewing some of the external places where you have looked for salvation in the past. In other people, in possessions, in various situations and events, and in self-concepts that you sought to make real. Recognize it is not there and tell yourself, my salvation cannot come from any of these things. My salvation comes from me and only me.
That's good. Thanks. And that was from Lesson 70, which was probably better than the one I picked out. Thanks,
Oh, really?
Jerry.
Did I skip a...
Nah, Jesus made you do it, so I wasn't going to argue with him. So we'll sit with that.
It was a miracle. It was
Hey,
a
well, another
miracle.
2 miracles in a row. Damn. I should have called on you earlier.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let Jesus in. Let him love us for a little while. Okay, we'll get quiet for a little bit. Gently, 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 never come back. Stay there, for God's sake. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Love
you.
you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Jerry,
Thank you so much.
Tim was getting a little heavy today.
All right. See ya.